Anyway, let's make a start.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we're still yakking. I know. Mate, you know what though? These are all the kind of chats I never get to do when I catch you at places or catch you at events.
Yeah, that's it, mate.
So much of the shit going on, isn't there?
That's it. That's why I like to do this. So today, on a good old natter with, I have the most excellent Craig Turner. How you doing, mate?
I'm all right, thank you, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. What people don't know is we've already been talking for an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
And today we're going to be talking about revival, but what I want to talk about first is like the history of revival. How did it start, mate?
I think when retro gaming started getting like big at the end of the 2000s, I think retro gaming started to kind of rise in prominence, and there was a few little events started to crop up because there wasn't a lot around then. You know, not many people were revisiting it, but most people of our vintage were starting to look back into it, I suppose, at that point, and wondering what the possibilities were. And I started to delve into the world of building home arcade machines because that had been a thing for about 10 years at that point. And I built my own arcade machine. I started building for other people, and I started tourniquets way back in 2003. So it kind of like I was starting to indulge heavily in the hobby then. But then by the time it got to like 2009, 2010, these little events started to crop up. Of course, Replay was the first major one of note. There was Insert Coin 09, which I missed, unfortunately, but I heard some weird things went on there. And there was a couple of little things went on a couple of years before that I just wasn't a part of back then. I was too broke, to be honest, to see what's going on around the country anyway, because I was only in my early 20s and we were struggling. But then it got to about 2010 and I started to meet people at these events and, you know, met a lot of people like myself and Chris got together, got our heads together, and we just looked at it and said, well, you know, why can't we have a massive event just for retro heads? Because we had no real interest in modern gaming. We were falling out of love with the contemporary gaming market. So we said, let's indulge in the old stuff. And of course, because there was nowhere to go to indulge in these things, it just seemed to make sense at the time to pull together these little pocket communities. Because at the time, there were a lot of, you know, there was little Spectrum groups, little Amiga groups. There was a bit of an arcade collecting scene, a pinball collecting scene. Excuse me. And we were just trying to pull some of these together and saying, well, why don't we try and put all this under one roof? So, you know, we all had our specialist areas and we started talking to more and more people, pulled them into the team and said, you know, what can you bring to the table? Started shooting messages to, you know, old developers and things like that. And it just kind of sprung from there. So, you know, it started out as being the UK's biggest dedicated retro event, and it's just continued to grow ever since. So came out with the first event back in 2013, 2014 got even bigger. Then Chris decided that events just weren't for him, so he left to focus on the books and the publication stuff, which is something he was more interested in. And I just said, well, I'm more interested in the social aspects, so I picked up the events on my own, and I grew it from there. We went to a bigger venue, went to Bescott Stadium. You know, using a football stadium was quite a big thing for an event of this kind. Yeah. And every year we just took on more and more space, and it exploded to the point when in 2019 there was like 2,500 people, I think was the actual number through the door. But we were just trying to cram so much in. So many people wanted to be involved, so many traders, so many people wanted to come and enjoy it. The guests were just getting kind of crazy, and but it was where it peaked, if you know what I mean. But at that point, there were kind of signs that it was slowing down a little bit. Maybe the demographic was changing. We've been doing it 10 years, you know, for the best part. And I think with the demographic shift, I saw the writing on the wall. And for 2020, I scaled it back a little bit. I decided let's do some smaller events, do more frequent, you know. And we did the very first one of those. And a lot of people now say that the 2020 event, even though people were a bit disappointed there was no more big space to use, 2020 became renowned as one of the most sociable and enjoyable events that everybody ever went to. and it dropped obviously right before the COVID lockdowns began.
Yes.
So it became like a kind of lasting memory, and it cemented, I suppose, the hardcore people on the scene from all around the country. You know, it cemented their affinity to retro gaming and their affinity to Revival as the place to go to get the best social experience. So all through COVID, all through the lockdowns, it stuck with people. And I always knew it would come back, but I just didn't know when that would be. The restrictions were in place a lot longer for events than they were for general society and businesses and things like that. The actual event restrictions were in place till early 2023, which not many people realise, and the councils were imposing all kinds of hoops you had to jump through to hold an event properly and legally. And it would have killed the complete vibe of what Revival was about. It was never supposed to be like a trade event or a staid convention or anything like that. It was always supposed to be about the interaction, and you know, every way you turn, there's something to play or someone to talk to. And I didn't want to hold it while, you know, it was like that. So once I got over my cancer battle back in 2022, I started thinking about it. So I started helping with other people's events. I started to get my hand involved in a lot more things like my writing and things like that. And then I said, well, now's the time to come back to events. So I found my strength again, and back end of 2023 I said, well, it's time to bring Revival back. So here we are.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you managed to get a book published, Game Not Over, which you can't see that I'm showing that on camera now.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, tell us about that, mate. Was that something that you always wanted to do?
Yeah, for years I looked at the idea of doing a book on something, and my wife had pushed me several times and said, you know, you've got a lot of knowledge, you know, maybe you should think about putting something together that's personal to you. And many years I thought about doing like a memoirs thing and talking about my hobby. But then I got given a nudge by a few people, and while I was actually ill when I had my cancer diagnosis and we had a lot of downtime during COVID and that, said, well, this is the perfect time, you know, you've got no other distractions, there's nothing else going on, you can't really leave the house. Why not go ahead and kind of go for it? So while I was going through my treatments, you know, the radiotherapy and all that, I actually started writing my book. And I've got several ideas for books, but the one that really stuck was I'm a big collector of rare and obscure consoles. And there's a lot out there that even, you know, the most hardcore fan probably either didn't notice, forgot about, or, you know, had no idea things were being made and released onto the market back in the day that they've never even touched on. And, you know, there's a lot of people been in this hobby for several years now who they think they've kind of seen and done everything. They've revisited their past and they're bored again. And they're thinking, well, you know, I've played all the games I used to play. That's it now. I'll go back to modern gaming or whatever my other focus is. And I've kind of said with this, well, no, you don't have to do that. So it's called Game Not Over because, you know, there's plenty more there that people have never seen. So I start talking about consoles that had very limited release, only saw release in limited territories that failed for whatever reason. Quite a lot of the systems failed, unfortunately. But they're the kind of things where there's some interesting games to be had there, and because you can only play them on that system, you need to get that system or find somebody who's got a system to enjoy it. So I'm trying to encourage people to say, look, this is how to find it. This is where to buy it. These are the games you need to focus on. And here's some of the, you know, quite interesting history as to behind these things and why it exists, why it was created, and hence, in most cases, why it failed. So that became the big talking point. And I created a whole book of it, and then I realised there was far too much for one book. So we created the first book. That went to Kickstarter, sold over 1,000 copies. And I know it took a lot of people by surprise. I said I'd be happy to sell 100. And I think we did over 800 on the Kickstarter, and it's sold a few hundred more since. So yeah, it's well over 1,000 at this point. But I always had machinations to write more in the series. So there's going to be a volume 2, which I've already began, and is about half done. and there's possibly, with the list of systems I've got, going to be a volume 3 as well. I could go on probably forever doing it, but I don't want to milk the situation. But
Yeah.
I'm looking to do a 3-book set, and in each of the books is going to be something a little bit new. But the whole game not over thing is, for people who don't know Revival, I tend to theme each of the events a little bit differently to give a bit of variety. And for Revival 2024, I thought, well, what better than to, use the title Game Not Over, because it's not game over for Revival. We're back. It kind of highlights what you're going to see there. So I'm going to be taking a lot of my heavy hitters, consoles that some people have never seen before, never heard of before, the really expensive ones. They're all going to be out, and they're not just going to be there as museum pieces. They're going to be there fully interactive to play. So, and of course, I'll be selling my book there as well, rather selfishly.
Yeah. Well, my next question is actually what's this year for Revival 2024? Then the return.
It's back at our original venue, Wolverhampton Racecourse.
Okay.
It's where we started the event. It's a nice big place. A lot of people like it. As far as events go, it makes a lot of sense. It's all on flat level ground. It's nice and accessible for the disabled and families with pushchairs and things like that. That's a big thing when it comes to our events. It's supposed to be a family atmosphere, so the more accessible a venue is, the better, really. But the beauty of the venue is they're actually giving us a lot more freedoms on the kind of things we can do there. So they've got a nice big space downstairs. It's basically 2 large main rooms. You've got a concourse and the ringside. The ringside being where they host most of their functions. The concourse being where the general punters on race days would be, with the bookies' offices and things like that. But we've got both of those large spaces to use, linked by a massive bar in the middle. So there's going to be room again to put in the arcades, the pins, all the big things that people love. Every system conceivable. We can bring back our stage things. We've got the Retro Lords. They do our thing on stage. So they do their thing on stage for us. They hold the competitions and the tournaments. But it means there's also room to do a few new things. We've got one guy coming who specialises in speed running. That's something that a lot of people follow these days. And that's about like beating classic games as fast as possible, exploiting glitches and inbuilt bugs in the games and things like that to get through as fast as possible. So there's going to be a guy coming doing some live demonstrations of that. We've got several of the people doing the guest talks. They've actually got exhibit spaces on the floor for this one. So they're going to be doing more personal one-to-one stuff, signing stuff, exhibiting a lot of the games they put out. So like we've got Jeff Minter and Ivan of Llama Soft. They'll have a section out on the floor.
Wow.
Roland Perry, who's a big one we got this time. He never does events. He's the primary tech behind Amstrad computers.
Okay.
He had a big hand in the Amstrad 464 back in the day. And this year's the 40th anniversary of the 464. So he's coming along to do a talk. Andy will have some of his documentation and early hardware prototypes and stuff there. So that'll be quite nice. And of course, like I say, they're both doing talks, Llama Soft and Roland Perry. And then we've invited back a couple of our past guests because they didn't get enough airtime the last time they were here. And they're from Bullfrog. We've got Alex Trewers and Glenn Corpse from Bullfrog. And they didn't get enough mic time when they were with us back in 2019, I believe. So I thought it would be sensible to have them back to talk a little bit more about themselves, go into the subjects they really want to talk about, if you know what I mean. And then as far as like the talks room goes, Paul Drury and excuse me, Martin Carroll will be doing a kind of a live quiz kind of thing as well. So they'll be rounding out the talks day with a live quiz for people as the event sees out on the Saturday. So a lot packed into the Saturday on this one. And then we can also do nice special things at this one. We've got the Sinclair C5 experience. That's going to be pretty cool, I think, for anybody who's a big fan of the Sinclair. Yeah. A lot of people, they're aware of the C5, and it was a bit of a joke back in the day. But for Sinclair fans, it's one of those kind of mythical, fantastical things that kind of came from Clive Sinclair. And not many people have really touched on them. A lot of people have never even seen a C5, let alone experience them. And usually when you see them these days, they're stuck on a plinth that there's some kind of museum or showpiece. Well, the Sinclair C5 Owners Club, they buy them, they restore them, they add modern, tuning to them to make them more practical, and they still use them like most days. They're out every weekend on little trips out. and we've got a whole bunch of them coming. I originally wanted 2 or 3. It looks like we've got about 6 to 10 C5s coming, all fully restored, all tuned up. And the visitors are going to be able to come and talk with the guys about what goes into them. We've also got like a track allocated, so you're going to be able to come and have turns in the C5. So people who've never got a chance to go in them, they're going to be able to go out in them, go around on the track, go around the grounds a little bit and see what they're all about and see exactly why they're impractical, really, but still very much a part of British, historical culture.
Yeah. Well, you could set up bets, couldn't you? I mean, it's a horse track.
You could, yeah. There's some crazy modifications out there for them now. I mean,
I can imagine.
They were originally like 12-volt standard things run on big old lead acid car batteries.
Yeah.
But they are technically just an electric assisted bicycle is what all they are.
Oh, okay.
And the lack of torque and the lack of suitability for roads is quite, it's quite renowned for these things. So these days now you've got like disc brakes, modern hydraulic systems, better tyres, better suspension and wheel structures and things like that, and of course better electric motors. A lot of the owners now will add a lot of this technology to the old systems and make them a lot more practical for everyday use. You'll have softer tyres, so it's easier on your bum when you're riding around. They add like ramped acceleration, so they've actually got the kind of torque and pull that like a modern mobility scooter's got. So rather than needing to pedal to start off with, you can actually, start from scratch and things like that. So there's a lot of modifications to them now that make them actually quite a cool little adult toy, I suppose you could call it. It's kind of an executive toy kind of thing. Yeah, I suppose you go around on one of those around the streets, you're going to get noticed these days.
Absolutely. Well, the thing is, I mean, the place where I work, we sell electric scooters.
Yeah.
So if you think about how long it's been since that was shown, the C5, it just shows you how, the genius of Clive, doesn't he?
It does, and what a lot of people don't know is the actual laws surrounding personal electric vehicles that still exist today were written specifically for the C5's release, and it's mostly unchanged. So what's quite unique about the C5 and a little bit scary is, even though it seems to be like this little personal car that you can take on the roads, right? You only need to be over 14 to legally use on the road today. You only need to be over 14. You don't need a helmet. You don't need indicators or wing mirrors at all. And you don't need insurance either, or any kind of training to use one. So you can take these rather rickety tricycle death traps on the road, on the modern roads where you can barely be seen because of the height of the things. They're only capable of 12 to 15 mile an hour officially. And it's quite scary to think, really, but you can take them on roads, you can take them on pavements, anywhere you can take a bike, you can take one of these.
That's
legally.
mad.
It is crazy to think.
That must be a loophole because, believe it or not, electric scooters, modern day electric scooters, are completely illegal. You can't.
That's right.
You can't ride them on roads. You've got to be on private land.
That is because it's an entirely electric-driven motor, whereas with the C5, it's officially an electric-assisted bicycle. So you can get these kits, can't you, for normal bicycles? So, like a dynamo type of motor.
Dynamo,
That's basically all the C5 was. So they are, as long as they're in standard guise, I must say, they are perfectly legal for anyone over 14 to ride on roads. I mean, the range is terrible by standard. But if you take one of those now, you've got to think about what's sketchy about this. If you take one of those now, replace that 12-volt system with the 48-volt motor upgrade, which is a thing. You use a modern lithium polymer battery, which is a lot lighter. You add the modern steel wheels. You add the dual motors on the front and the rear axle. You add disc brakes all round. And you use a modern, like I say, a ramped acceleration system. You've got an electric vehicle that's capable of about 25, 30 mile an hour that you could ride on the roads and be pretty much ignored by the police. It's quite a quite a scary thing to think of, and thankfully not many people know about it, else there might be a few more blasting around out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, these guys go on runs all the time from the C5 owners group. They do like Brighton runs. They take part in a lot of the classic car rallies and things like that. And just last weekend, they did one to, I'm trying to think where it was to last weekend, that they did a big run. And like I say, because they've got modern range motors now, they can do 30 miles on a single charge, no problem. So it's a lot more of a practical, I suppose, vehicle to use these days than even a lot of the vehicles that have come out since.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. So, to who else have you got there? Any other guests and whatever?
Now, as far as guests go, that was the official guest we've got. One of the things we wanted to do this time is we've kind of done the big grand, let's have as much as we can get under one roof. So we used to have like 120 arcade machines, as many pins as we could fit in. That's been done, and we're 12 years on now from our very first plans. So there's a lot more venues where that already exists now. So it doesn't make as much sense to try and get that all under one roof, because from a logistics perspective, it's tricky to do. So it's more about the social. So we're going to have everything that you always see at a revival. So we'll still have all the arcades, still have all the pins, still have all the computers and consoles, and you'll still have guest talks, and you'll still have them going about on the around the show floor speaking to people. But we're just not going to excess, if you know what I mean. We want more breathing room for people. We've limited the talks to only one day this year. That is actually, as much as people love the talks and as much as people, love to get as much value for money, their ticket price as they can. One of the big things we had feedback complaints about was that there was too much going on. The panels were too large, so some of the people who were speaking didn't get any time to speak, as I just said about the Bullfrog talk. There were too many talks going on. And it was a big strain on the guys doing the interviewing because they didn't get to see any of the rest of the event. Okay. And for the people who favour the talks, they also had a problem because they were saying, "Well, I need to spend all my day in the talks room. I've not seen anything else. I've not done any shopping. I've not got to socialise." So we're trying to encourage everybody to sample a bit of everything. So this time, by having like the three main talks and only on the Saturday, it means there's going to be more overrun time if some of the talks want to talk a bit longer. There's going to be no overruns and overlaps and people complaining about start times. It means people who do like the talks can then go and have a bite to eat without missing the next talk, or they can go take part in a tournament without missing anything. So we're just trying to make it more comfortable for the people who are coming now, rather than just trying to cram too much into one weekend. We're all getting older, we're not getting any younger, so we've got to make it a lot more manageable and sustainable if we're going to move forward.
Makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah,
really does. So, am I right in saying there's a larger an Amiga presence this year?
Yeah, absolutely. The Southwest Amiga group primarily, they've been supporting us since 2016, I think it is now. And Dave Rowland primarily is the main guy there. Yeah. He was part of the Southwest Amiga group, and they were having small meets way back then, but they were very small, probably less than 20, 30 people. And I went down to check a few out. And he messaged me and he says, "I'd love to get involved in helping out Revival. We'll help you not just with your Amiga contingency, but your entire Commodore contingency if you want us." So I kind of welcomed them in, and from there, that became their standpoint. And as it happens, there's a knock-on effect of helping us with Revival and getting their exposure out there. Lots more pocket Amiga groups have cropped up around the country. There's now a bigger Amiga scene than there's ever been. They've now got their own massive event called Kickstarter, which a lot of them are a part of, and that's come about mainly because we've risen their profile. So, like the Southwest Amiga group meets now, we're well over 100 people. We've also got people from the Yorkshire Amiga group. There's one in the Northwest coming. There's some guys from the London Amiga groups coming. Ironically, the only group we haven't is the very, very new Midlands Amiga group.
Oh, I don't know if that's true, because I recently found out about the Telford one. That's the one you're referring to, isn't it? And I think I messaged some of the guys in the group, and they are coming. Okay. So Yeah.
Oh, there you go then. So
Yeah.
that's a good thing. So a large chunk of the one room is going to be hosted by the various Amiga groups, and I've given them a lot more room this time. You know, I'd like to see more of the specific interests from people. So we've done the big bold, let's have everything. So now I'm saying to people, bring what you really care about. So you're going to see a lot more of the things that you would usually see at a dedicated Amiga meet. So you're going to see like the people building the custom Amigas. You know, you're going to see some of a lot more of the devices being made for the platform. I believe we've got one of the Amiga. I think it's the Arcadia platform, which is the Amiga arcade hardware. I believe we've actually got one of those machines coming.
Oh, what the VR machine used?
No. It's actually there was an arcade hardware standard called Arcadia, and
Right.
it's based on the Amiga hardware. And it's a lot of the games that were a bit like the Nintendo Play Choice or the Sega Megatech.
I've got you.
It's a similar thing, but for Amiga games. So a lot of games were developed to be released that are essentially Amiga games, but for the arcade.
Gotcha.
So and we've got one of those coming. So that'll be quite a nice thing to have there. You don't see every day, and that extends to other groups as well. So we've got about 50 arcade machines coming, which is still a nice amount. But a lot of them coming from the individual collectors. They're bringing the games that they care about more so than just bringing, you know, here's Pac-Man and Defender, which you can play at Arcade Club any day of the week. They're bringing games that are more personal to them, if you know what I mean. So it's trying to be more specific. Now we've got a bit more of a core audience of hardcore people. I want to make sure they're seeing things that they don't see every day, and we're not just catering to regular Joe off the street who, you know, they'll see a Nintendo and be happy with it. That's why, like, you know, the Game Not Over section, it's going to be a lot more detailed for people who, like I say, I think they've seen everything. I think it'll be of great interest for them to see a Zebo, or for them to see, you know, a twin Famicom or an IQ player, because you just don't see them every day. And you certainly don't get to be hands-on with them. And, you know, inviting people like the C5 owners group, like I say, these aren't things you see every day. And Revival is supposed to be about bringing something new to retro, is one of the ethoses we've always had.
No, that's fantastic, mate. It really is. And how about the next Spectrum Next presence there? Who've we got around that?
I'm not entirely sure who'll be there on the Spectrum Next front. Some of the guys were supposed to be coming, can now no longer make it, unfortunately. But Tim Gilbert's will be there. Yeah. I've been assured. I'm trying to think who else off the top of my head. I'm trying to think of the names. I was talking to them recently, and it's fallen unfortunate with holidays and things this time. So a few of those actually can't make it. But obviously, I know the guys behind TX1696 are going to be there, because you're very much part of that. You're going to be there, Richard, aren't you?
Yeah.
I believe Andrew Laird's going to be there from Cavern Games as well.
That's correct, yeah.
And a couple of the other indie developers have said they're going to be along, and they're going to be showcasing some things. So, yeah, there's going to be a dedicated Spectrum Next area, which you're going to very much be central part of, I think.
I'm going to try my best.
And,
I need to push this machine. I need to push it.
Yes, you do. But then we're going to have also a dedicated Vectrex area. Vectrex is a very, very popular platform. So many homebrew things going on that. Fantastic machine. Yeah. Again, a very kind of, it's one of those bridges between the arcade and the home, isn't it? You know, it's very, very unique in itself. So we've got a dedicated area for that. We're bringing back a little bit of the rhythm gaming, because the casuals love to have a blast on a dance mat, or the guitars, or, you know, things like that. Yeah, they've had a few beers, so we're going to bring a bit of that back this time. So yeah, and then of course all the favourites will be there. There's going to be a load of traders. We've actually invited a lot more of the independent traders this time than we usually have. So some of the people who don't do it for a business, but they attend the markets and some of the smaller meets, you know, just trading their own stuff with other, you know, with other small traders and collectors. We've got a few more of those coming. So we've got about 30 trader tables there. And yeah, of course, the competition's on stage as well. And one of the other things I should mention, is there's going to be a big presence there from the Retro Realm, which is a new arcade which is opening up locally that we're a big part of.
Yeah, let's speak about this new arcade that you're involved in.
Yeah,
a local one.
Yes, it certainly is. I'm so excited about it because it's going to be very much a big part of my focus going forward. There's a new arcade opening for those who don't know. So Revival's on the 8th and 9th of June,
Yep.
and then pretty much 2-3 weeks after that, there's a brand new retro arcade opening in Walsall on the wharf called the Retro Realm, and it's owned by guys who've been owned a lot of the independent video game stores for the last 20 odd years or so. So a lot of people have been shopping at their shops for the last 20 years, buying the import games and things like that. And we've been welcomed in to be part of this because my personal arcade collection's going there. So all 40 of my arcade machines are going to live there permanently.
Wow,
They've got a load of modern arcade games as well. They've been buying up extra machines, which I'm going to be helping them fix up and get out onto the floor, both retro and modern machines. And it's all going to be there under one roof. They've got a bar/cafe. They've got the dedicated arcade in the back. They've got some smaller private hire rooms in there where you can basically rent them out for kids' parties or individual like community meets. So there's invitations gone out to the card playing groups, the role playing groups, the fighting game tournament community, groups,
awesome. Yeah.
the speed runners. And like I say, we've been welcomed in because we're very well connected on the scene. We're going to be hosting miniature revival events there on a regular basis. So I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be doing a little bit of PR for them. I'm going to be helping them grow their brand and their business. Obviously, I'm helping them on the technical front, but I'm also going to be holding dedicated revival events at the venue. So we're going to bring back the arcade tournament. We're going to be doing like a UK Fun Spot style tournament at that arcade and on an annual basis, maybe twice yearly. There's going to be constant scoreboards up on the boards. There's also going to be prizes and giveaways for people who hold the longest high scores and records. There'll be, like I say, there'll be the competitive scene there. So the fighting game tournaments are going to be held there. But there's also going to be consoles to play in the bar, pinball on paper play in the bar as well. So you don't actually have to pay to go in. You can visit it on a lunchtime and still go in and have a bit of a game. There's going to be food on offer. You've got the Premier Inn literally on the other side of the wharf. Next door, there's a massive Premier Inn if you're travelling to be there. There's loads of parking.
That's a big A. That's a big A, yeah.
Yeah, and it's right by Junction 10 of the M6. So, there's no excuse not to be there. If you've been to Revival before, you're not going to struggle to find it. In fact, most of our regulars, a lot of them stop at the Premier Inn when they used to come to Revival when it was at Bescott Stadium. So they would formally be there. They would be in the Wharf Bar next door.
So it's right by it's right by the Bescott Stadium then. Oh, where?
It's pretty much by Bescott. Well, I'll say by Bescott Stadium. Bescott Stadium's on one side of town. This is on the other side. But gotcha. Bescott Stadium's right by Junction 9. Junction 10 is like the main entrance into the top of Walsall.
Okay.
And it's right there on the wharf. So it's going to be very accessible for anybody coming. Like I say, even though it's kind of in the city centre, so to speak, there's literally a car park at the end of the road, £2.50 for 24 hours. So £2.50 parking, that's fantastic.
That's unheard of. Absolutely unheard of.
It is definitely unheard of.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be the way we're going to steer most people to go who are coming and stopping overnight. You've also got the cinema on the complex, the shops across the road. They serve their own food, but if you want to go for a bit of nightlife, there's bars and there's plenty of cafes and choice down the road. If you want to vary it up a little bit. But it's very much going to be the home of Revival going forward because they want us to host mini events. I'm going to be inviting some guests to come there and do like an evening with kind of events. So we're going to be having like special guests come down. They'll do a bit of a talk in the bar and they'll maybe come into the arcade, do some signings, stick around while everyone's having a game. So there are going to be many more frequent, slightly smaller Revival events being held at the Retro Realm from this point forward.
I'm just thinking, like for you, how easy is that setup going to be? Because all the arcades are already going to be there. That's going to be brilliant, isn't it? Yeah.
That is a key part of it. What's quite nice is if anybody wants to look it up, by the way, the information is starting to appear now, so I can talk about it more. Up until now, I've not been able to talk about it too much.
I'll put some links in the description for you, mate. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, please do. But if you look at the area around where the wharf is, it's actually having a £6 billion injection of money in the next 4 years, I think it is. There's already a lot of like apartments and stuff there, but they've already developed the one side of the wharf and the one side of the complex. They're now developing this side where Retro Realm is. And like I say, as well as the cinema and things like that, there's going to be some new things out in some big shops. And Retro Realm actually own, or they're allowed the use of the land directly in front of the place as well, bridging with the Peri Peri chicken place just in front of it. So in the event that they do a summer thing, which they're doing, we're talking about getting the gamer vans down, we're getting some booths down, we'll get some projectors outside, we'll get the local radio down, and we can very much do a kind of mini revival public festival thing right there at Retro Realm, because you can be outside having a drink, you can be inside having a game in the proper arcade, you can be sat in the bar, you know, gaming on the big screens. We're gonna have it all there in one place. So as long as everybody supports it, and I think everybody will. We've not had anything like this to date in the Midlands.
No, I mean,
if going
a camping, I was going to say, if a camping area could be set up as well. I mean,
well, I mean, it'd be nice, but that close to City be tough. But at least, like I say, at least you got the Premier in, and you know you're getting the Premier in. So if anybody wants to come along and have a skinful, they've only got to literally fall out of the front door of Retro Realm and then straight into the Premier in opposite. So it's very easy to stop there.
That's fantastic, mate. Especially for the Midlands. I mean, I feel as though the Midlands has just got this uprise for this scene at the moment. I mean, we've obviously got yourself, who I can argue and say you pretty much started it. And, you know, we've got some brilliant retro shops, haven't we? Like Hidden Chest Gamer, Vintage Gamer.
Yeah,
we've now got an Amiga group. You know, the Telford Amiga group. Who have I forgot? Oh yeah, we got the Black Country Market as well, haven't we? In
I was just about to say, you got Dana and out with the Black Country Market. See, there wasn't much of a scene back in the day, and a lot of things that were going on in the early days of the retro scene. Well, there were a few shops, but like there were a lot of it was going on up north, which is fine for us in the Midlands because the north isn't far. But of course, the nature of the Midlands being the Midlands is that it's equidistant for everybody. So I think we were missing a trick by not having anything here. But of course, the problem is there's a bit of a stigma around the Midlands. We know this coming from the Midlands. There's a lot of stigma around it. There's a lot of old industry. You know, there's a lot of dereliction and things like that. But it is picking itself up. And the thing is, because it's so easily accessible, it would make sense to redevelop and build things up here as far as the scene goes. So when we started Revival, for example, part of the thinking was, A, we're very accessible, yes, but B, it just makes sense that, we can do it in an area now. We can take advantage of the slightly lower prices on venues and we can build a scene. So I always kept Revival to be Midlands based, to represent for the Midlands, because by doing that, while everything else was going on up north, I know there's not a lot happening down south, but at least the south have got London, things happen in London. But as far as the further north you go, the less happens. And in the Midlands, there's nothing. So, we created Revival. A lot of fringe things have cropped up around it. We've got a couple of museums that have cropped up. We've got a couple of mini events companies that have cropped up in our wake while we were away for a while. But yeah, a lot of these groups have kind of crept up. And the one thing we've never had is a good local venue. There's a couple of bars. We've had Kongs and NQ64. There's also Retroids in Worcester. But there's never been something following the proper template. And like I've said to people, the only good template to follow is the arcade club template. They did it first. They did it best. And they're the most successful for a reason. Now, nobody can touch arcade club. It's still somewhere I will frequent because it's got everything.
Yeah, I was going to say that one in Bury is incredible.
It's got absolutely everything. There was never anything like that back in the day.
It's better than the arcades. It's better than going to, like, when I used to go to Rill and Western. That place is incredible.
I mean, it even shits on things like the Trocadero and some of the big arcades used to have, back in the day, because of it's all under one roof. It's so big, and they've got pretty much endless resources when it comes to that. But I mean, you need more local. There's a lot more local things opened up, and we needed something for the Midlands. And I think before long, somebody was going to do it. I've been asked several times over the years if I was going to open my own place, and I can actually tell you now, I was in talks with a few people. We were thinking of doing it, But I'm at that point in my life now where I don't really want to take that on fully on my shoulders anymore. You know, uncertain climate, and I haven't got that much money behind me, so I'm just trying to make the best of that. But I'm also I wanted to get involved with it, and we very much needed something in the Midlands. So when these guys came along and said, you know, we're going to be opening this place, but we need somebody who's better connected, it was just it's all going hand in hand, because you now got Dana and Ant doing the Midlands markets with Black Country events. I'm helping them out with some gaming and stuff. They obviously attend our events. We've got all these little groups up and coming. So, and obviously for guys like me and you, every time we try and arrange a big Midlands meet at Arcade Club, it's very hard to coordinate everyone's time. Whereas if we've got something right there in Walsall, which is super accessible for everybody, I can say at the drop of a hat, right, we're going to have a meet this month, guys, you're coming along. Much easier to organise when it's only half hour away from your house. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I was going to say we've got RCM as well, Retro Computer Museum in like the northern part of the Midlands, which is a fantastic place to get to as well. I'm always there. But yeah, I'm seeing this massive growth in the Midlands scene, and I'm absolutely loving it at the moment. Arcade wise, mate, I've got to ask: is Karate Champ going to be there? it's my favourite arcade.
Game. Yeah, we can probably arrange it. To be fair, we've actually got, we don't have a dedicated Karate Champ machine, but I'm in the process of kind of taking stock of what there is, and I'm going to be making sure that games are requested make their way onto the floor. So there's a couple of, I'm doing a few dedicated conversions from jammer machines as it happens. So we've got some very nice jammer cabinets, and as they should have been back in the day, they were always supposed to be made into kind of dedicated machines by having the one game in there, applying the full art and everything like that, and having the proper controls. Unlike a lot of the dodgy arcades of the past, we'll be doing it properly. So any game that you don't see there, ask us for, and we can see about doing it. The good thing is there's a good stock of machines going there. I mean, I've got my own collection, which is basically represents a lot of the classic stuff. I've got a lot of fighters as well. I've got a lot of the multiplayer games, you know, Turtles and Simpsons and things like that, which everybody loves at events and loves when they're in a party. But the guys there have got all the modern stuff. So you've got like the 4D horror game, the Big Outrun 2 link-ups, Afterburner Climax, Max Storm, you know, the pod flight games and things like that. So there's a really good mix of both. But they've got so much stuff that they know that from places like Arcade Club and Retro Dome, you can't just exist entirely on your stock on the floor. So they've actually got a couple of massive storages, and there's enough machines to probably cycle out the entire rack of games every month if they wanted to. Wouldn't happen that way because it's a bit impractical, but the place holds about 150 arcade machines. So it's a bit like having the top floor of Arcade Club, but with having all the features of Arcade Club condensed into that one space, if you know what I mean. So it's a bit like the top floor of Arcade Club. So you can have about 150 machines, and the idea is that they've got enough machines that as things break down and to keep it fresh, some of the machines will be subbed out. So probably on maybe a monthly or a 3-monthly basis, you'll see a lot of machines moved out and made way for other ones that are in storage, just to keep the lineup fresh, if you know what I mean. And then after a couple of months, they'll be swapped back in for other machines. So at least you're seeing something a bit different each time you come. But we'll try and keep the popular ones there constantly, you know, especially the classics, because people expect to see certain things when they go in there. Like I say, the 4-player brawler games, people expect to see those. The big drivers that everyone loves, people will expect to see those. Yeah. And we've even got room. A lot of places don't favour things like cocktails and things like that. There's actually like the way it's designed, there's like a corridor which goes down into the main arcade section. That's going to be lined with cocktail cabinets and mini cabarets and those little, you know, like the Dino King conversions and things like that. So there's going to be a nice variety in there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, you've got to have, as a staple, you've got to have Outrun. Yeah. You've got to have a Star Wars machine. It's the law.
Well, I can tell you now. I think there's a Star Wars. There's an upright Star Wars supposed to be on its way, but it needs fixing. And there's also Star Wars Trilogy, which is very popular as well. There's a Star Wars Trilogy supposed to be coming as well, so that'll be nice if it comes in.
I know Dave's got Dave Rowland's got the sit down Star Wars. He's got to work on and fix. I keep moaning at him.
Yeah, Dave was actually down at my place this week. He's been repairing arcades for me, and we were struggling a little bit to try and get done what we wanted to get done. Monitor repairs are always the bane of any arcade's existence. So, but thankfully, Retro Realm have hired their own CRT tech to do that, and they're going to be training up a couple of new staff to actually replace the older guys who are doing it now. So the CRT tech's going to train up some new apprentices and hopefully keep everything running in there. And with a bit of support from myself and people I can kind of bring to the table, hopefully should be able to keep everything running.
What do you think the chances of you ever getting hold of an R360 machine? Because I absolutely adore that machine.
You know what? I think we'd love it, but I've had discussions about.
I mean, logistically, it's absolutely huge. It's big as a house.
It's something that'd be nice to have. I think the issue is, speaking with I'll speak with Andy Palmer a lot because Andy Palmer's a good friend of mine. For those who don't know, he's the guy who owns Arcade Club, and we've spoken about the practicalities of things. And I've been into their storage at Arcade Club, and I know in the back of there they've got the motion version of Radmobile and the NASCAR game and the big Virtua Racing, the full environmental one that moves on hydraulics and that. So a bit like the Outrun ones. And they've got all of those machines. And I believe at one point they were going to get, things like Galaxian 3, the big environmental thing that used to be at Blackpool. They were going to have a hand in buying up that and they were going to install it. But it comes down to practicality of servicing and sighting, I suppose, is the biggest thing. If you had infinite room, it'd be great to do. But something like that, because the R360, for anybody who doesn't know, it's like the full environmental version. You could play, I think, G-Lock and I think Afterburner could be played in there, couldn't they?
Afterburner,
instead of just tipping front and back and left and right, you actually get harnessed in, don't you? And
it's a sphere, it's almost
360-degree turns. It's on it's like a full gyroscope thing, isn't it?
That's the word, yeah.
But the problem is it needs an attendant constantly at it, a bit like the VR machines do. It needs an attendant to help everybody into it. It needs an attendant to make sure it's being operated safely. It'd be nice to do, but
I'd love it.
It'd be great if you could do it. They've got the resources to do it and get one.
That's an attraction all on its own, that machine.
It is, yeah. It's something special. Maybe it's something I could suggest to them to actually pick up and try for a little while, and if it's popular, it's popular. If not, I suppose they could always move it on or keep it in storage until the situation presents itself where they expand, or
I just remember the first time I saw it at Western, and I was in awe over that machine. Back there, I think it was the first machine. It was like £2 to go on it, and and considering every other machine was like 20p. It was like £2. That's going to use all my 10p's up. But
back in the days of the heyday of the arcades, the environmental things were the things everybody sought after. And the grander the experience, the more impressive it was, the more they could justify charging for it. As well as I know it cost a lot anyway. But there's things that will always stick with me. One of the big ones for me is Ridge Racer Full Scale. And there were only ever, I think at one point there were 5 in the country, and I think there were only a handful in the world. And the very last one, unfortunately, was at Blackpool Pleasure Beach up until just before COVID dropped. And I played on it the last year it was there. It was looking a bit worse for wear, but that was just amazing. I know a lot of the things were broken, so the smoke and the smell machine was broken. The car was looking a bit knackered, and the projectors were a bit iffy. But it was still nice to be able to sit in a real car, with real controls and play Ridge Racer on the huge projection screens there. That you can't really repeat that spectacle any other way. It's something you can't really emulate. Funny as it happens, I was actually going to do something similar when I was building arcade machines a few years ago. I was going to take an old MX5, chop it down to just keep the front end, and I was going to build a rig with a projector built into the bonnet, and actually have that so you could have the front end of an MX5, and I could keep it in storage, and you could basically wheel it up in front of a wall and do the Ridge Racer Full Scale thing, but on a a slightly medium scale, I suppose, and it
I'm
would
with
have been
you.
quite cool to do, yeah. But funds and space wouldn't allow it at the time, else I would have done it. I'd got it all written down on paper, I'd mapped it all out, I'd worked out how to do it. Would have been awesome, but yeah, funds and space just didn't allow for things like that.
Oh, never say never. Never say
Never say never, yeah. There's always a way. Where there's a will, there's a way.
So have you got any other future projects you can talk about? I mean, you mentioned about your book. We've got the arcade coming up. Is there anything else?
I suppose so. Yeah, I will finally be finishing my own Spectrum Next game, which is a conversion of my Revival Survival game that I did many years ago. I will be finishing that up. The intention actually, yeah, the intention actually was to have my second book and the game a large part done in advance of Revival. But as it happens, with the things I needed to do with Retro Realm opening, that took up a large part of my time. I've also had to, look for new resources for a lot of things for the event. Getting back to events after four years out has been quite a tough challenge.
Yeah.
We are there, thankfully, and I'm very resourceful. So I've had contingencies for things I've lost, but it's meant that a lot of the spare time I would have had in the last 3 months before the event have been eaten up by things I wouldn't ordinarily be doing. So as it happens, that's fine, because it means at least after this Revival, I can then work on my next book. I can work on my game, and hopefully by this Christmas, I can have like my next book out. We can hopefully have the game out. I've been chatting with Mike Ware about that. I'd like to get the game out this year without fail, if we can do that. And obviously after this event, I've got a bit more time freed up to do that. So hopefully that will be coming up. And I suppose from there going forward, I'm going to be focused very heavily on Retro Realm. So anything I do will be happening there. We're talking about doing a podcast from there, doing videos and special features and stuff at the place, doing features on the arcades, like I say, doing live interviews, maybe streaming when we have guests down, and streaming from there when we do that. Televising, maybe doing like live stream events like 24-hour marathons, the competitive tournaments, getting those up on Twitch. There's all kinds of things we can do. So I suppose everything going forward, yeah, I'm planning to do a lot of things, but they're all going to probably centre around Retro Realm. Everything Revival based will be kind of based from there anyway, because most of our equipment is going over there to be used on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But yeah, Revival is going to continue. We're going to continue doing Revival events as well. So yeah, just a lot happening, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
That's awesome, mate. That's awesome. So where can people get tickets for Revival this year then, mate?
Okay. Well, tickets are on sale now. There's the Revival website, which is revivalretroevents.co.uk. Needs updating, I know, but if you go to the socials and look for Revival Game Not Over 2024, or look for the Revival Retro Events page, you'll see all the links on there. I can tell you now off the top of my head, if you go to tinyurl.com/Revival 2024, that will take you straight to the tickets page if you want to buy tickets. It's £20 for adults for a day, or £10 for kids and concessions. You can also buy weekend tickets, family tickets, and group tickets at discount price, and that entitles you to free, entry, and everything's free once you get in there. So all the talks, all the consoles, all the arcades and things like that, everything's free once you get in. There's food and drink and stuff available there. If you go to the Revival event page for this, you'll also see all the announcements regarding the guests, the specific machines and attractions. It's all there on our Facebook page primarily. Oh, you can also catch us on Twitter, or X as it is now.
X, yeah. I'll put all those links in the description for you as well then, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Craig, it's been awesome talking to you again, because it's the second time I've had you on the air now.
I know, yeah. I was also doing a bit for somebody else the other day, and apparently I've been on there 5 times now over the years. So,
well,
I'm not a face that's going away anytime soon.
That's it. We've got to get the message out of this scene, haven't we? Especially in the Midlands.
Well,
definitely.
We're representing for the Midlands. That's exactly what it is.
That's it, mate. That's it. Right. Cheers for coming on again, then, mate. And I'll speak to you soon. I've got that Friday off, so I'm obviously going to give you a hand with the setup on
yes
for Revival, and I'll be there all day Saturday. So yeah, should be good fun. Looking forward to it.
Appreciate that.
No worries, mate. I'll speak to you soon. See you later.
Speak to you soon. Bye.